You're watching Root TV Nigeria, and this is In the Line of Fire. The elections may be over, but not in its entirety. There have been several issues emanating from the presidential, the governorship, and to the supplementary elections, which in the nearest future Nigerians will continue to be talking about. Today, my guest in the line of fire is the National Commissioner of Information and Voter Education of the Independent National Electoral Commission in the person of Barrister Festus. Okay, thank you so much for speaking with Root TV Nigeria.
Thank you.
Let's start with the report of the international observers that the elections, the entire elections, were marred by irregularities. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree. Comparatively speaking, the elections were fair, they were free, and the elections were transparent. But that does not mean that we didn't have challenges. Of course, we had challenges. We had challenges with our logistic deployment. We had challenges with the issue of security. We had challenges with violence in the elections and the conduct of party primary elections. We had our challenges. But if you look at the entire elections, you will see that given both the political and electoral environment, that the Commission did its very best to make sure that the votes of the people did count, and the votes of the people counted in this election.
Well, do you think Nigerians are actually angry? Because a lot of words have been flying around that INEC had plenty of time to have prepared for the elections, yet there was a postponement, one week or 2 weeks to the time, and yet there were still issues in the elections. Where did INEC get it all wrong?
I think that there's this whole fallacy about the Commission having had a total of 4 years to prepare for this election. The elections in Nigeria are circumscribed and governed by the constitutional and electoral framework. Now, if you look at Section 35 of the Electoral Act, it gives political parties that have nominated candidates and want to substitute those candidates a total of 45 days to the elections within which to do that. The implication is that the Commission cannot begin the printing of sensitive electoral materials until we are sure that all the nominations are in. So the implication is that we just have 45 days within which to print all these nomination forms and ballot papers. Now, part of the challenges we had was the fact that the courts kept on giving orders, some of them contradictory court orders, even up to the day of the election.
Would you blame that on the court?
It's not really blaming that on the courts. It is the constitutional framework, because Section 285 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria says that any aspirant or any political party that is aggrieved in relation to party primary elections has a total of 180 days within which, that the person has a total of 14 days within which to lodge a complaint before the court. And the court of first instance has 180 days to make a determination, and the court of appeal has 60 days to make a determination in relation to that particular matter. So the courts are still within the constitutional framework to make this determination. But we believe, as a commission, that does not serve us right. That what we should have, and what should be ideal, is a situation where all pre-election matters should be determined at least 60 days to the election, so that when we are planning, we plan with a lot of certainty and we plan with precision, and not having a situation where we do not even know whether we could go ahead with the printing of ballot papers, and then the courts will say, remove the logo of a particular political party, and that renders the entire ballot papers completely useless. That's one. Okay. The second issue relates to the conduct of the political parties themselves. Okay. Some of them really do not believe in free, fair, and transparent elections. And some of them went out of their way to go and undermine the entire political and electoral process.
In other words, if they were involved in all of the mishappenings that we saw, probably INEC would have had smooth elections. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, definitely. Because now what we did is that you will notice the fact that we have 91 registered political parties in Nigeria. And even for the presidential elections, we had 73 political parties participating. In some states, we had up to 60 political parties fielding candidates. And this makes both the ballot paper and the resources very, very cumbersome and very, very difficult to fill. So we believe that going forward, one of the things we should be looking at is a situation where we have to take a second look at Section 220 going forward of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria relating to the condition for the registration of political parties.
Which means INEC may deregister some parties.
The law and the Constitution gives the Commission the power to deregister political parties. But when you deregister a political party, that political party can get back as a registered political party within a period of 30 days from being deregistered, because the condition for the registration of political parties is so flexible and so loose to the extent that the only tough condition for a party to get registered is that that particular political party should have an office in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Every other thing is paperwork. And the law says that when a political party makes its application or files its application, the Commission must respond to such an application within a period of 30 days. And if the Commission does not respond, and it becomes 31 days, the party is automatically registered. So if you deregister a political party today, that political party can get back. And so the issue of deregistering them becomes an academic exercise unless we take a second look at the constitutional framework and make a determination on whether we should tighten the constitutional framework for registry of political parties, or we can put a threshold within which a political party will get to the ballot.
But has INEC had a meeting with political parties on this regard? They're listing some of the, deregistering some of these parties?
No. These are some of the issues we are going to be dealing with post-election. We are going to have a meeting with the political parties. Nigeria is a multi-party democracy, and we believe in multi-party democracy. But we also believe that for a political party to get on the ballot, and for a political party to exist as a political party and not a civil society organization, that party must sponsor candidates. Okay. Because that's what the Constitution says. The moment a political party does not sponsor candidates or stops sponsoring candidates, it becomes a civil society group, an association. So we want political parties that exist to realize their mission in accordance with the Constitution. So we are going to have a meeting with the political parties in relation to this.
Okay, well, Barrister, I'm sure you're aware of the fact that PDP made claims that through your server that was hacked in, they realized that they actually won the presidential elections. After that, there haven't been any official response by INEC to that. What will be your response? Well,
the PDP as a political party has filed a petition before the Election Petitions Tribunal. The Independent National Electoral Commission has been joined as a respondent in the said petition. The Commission has also appointed its own legal team to respond to some of these petitions. So if there are issues around the INEC server, or if there are issues relating to who won or did not win the presidential elections, these issues will be ventilated before the court. As an individual, all I know is that the Commission conducted elections. We did not do electronic collation of results, and we did not do electronic transmission.
But it's a server that can be hacked in.
I don't know anything about the server. I am telling you what I know. All our processes were manual. The results were sorted out at the polling unit manually, entered into from EC8A manually, and transmitted to the registration area collation centers or wards manually, and cascaded to the ward collation centers manually. And it progressed that way up to the time it progressed to the presidential collation and returns were made. So if there are issues around the server, I believe that those things will be ventilated in the Election Petitions Tribunal. So it will be sub judice to even make a comment in relation to issue of server.
Okay, but let's look at the fact that people are saying that the conduct of supplementary elections, politicians actually use that to manipulate the entire process. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree. What I agree to is the fact that the whole issue about supplementary elections are part of our constitutional and electoral framework. Now, if you look at the constitutional framework, those who framed and designed our constitution deliberately and on their own, and I agree, embedded the issue of inconclusive elections within the constitutional and electoral framework. because they want a situation where a president will be a president for the whole country and a governor will be a governor for the whole state. They do not want, or they do not want, or did not want a situation where somebody will go to only a part of the country, harvest all the votes, and become a winner. So, if you look at the constitutional framework, it says that for you to be declared as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you must secure majority of lawful votes cast in the election, and also a quarter of the votes cast in 2/3 of all the states of the Federation. That if you fail to secure this, there will be a second election. The same thing goes for governors who have to secure majority of lawful votes cast and a quarter of the votes cast in 2/3 of all the local governments in the state. Now, for the supplementary election itself, the law is very clear that if there's overvoting in any polling unit, that the result from that particular polling unit is null and void.
So we saw overvoting.
There were overvoting, which leads to the conduct of fresh election in those areas. If you also look at Section 26 of the Electoral Act, it says that if the commission is unable to deploy to a polling unit on account of natural disasters or other emergencies, that there should be another election in those areas to make up. What we noticed is that sometimes politicians will go to an area where they believe they do not have support and create mayhem in those areas to prevent deployment and also prevent results from coming in from those areas. So it will be inequitable, it will be unjust, and it will be unfair to deny the people from those areas the opportunity of having their voice through their votes. So the commission is properly grounded in terms of supplementary elections. But what politicians do is completely different. Some of them do not really believe, do not have the democratic spirit, and try to undermine the credibility of elections. So the media, especially in Nigeria, should focus attention at the political parties and what they do.
They seem to be the major culprit here.
They are the major culprits. But rather than focus attention on the political parties and their processes and procedures, the whole attention is focused on the commission. The commission cannot deploy and put youth corps members on the harm's way when we know that people have unleashed violence in a particular community. The commission cannot continue with voting when political parties sponsor people, give them drugs, give them arms, give them ammunition, and they go and smash smart card readers at the polling units. The commission does not have its own police force. So when armed thugs invade the collation centers and destroy everything, there's very little the commission can do. So I believe that other than amending the law and altering the constitution, we must insist that the political parties must develop the democratic spirit that allows things to be done in accordance with the law and the constitution. That is the only way we can make progress.
But moving forward, do we see INEC going electronic in the nearest future?
Yes, that is the way to go.
There are plans for it.
There are plans for it. We must have electronic collation and transmission of results. But we must also have a duality that allows electronic collation and transmission of results, and also a duality that allows us to continue with the manual system of voting, the manual system of sorting of votes, and the manual system of counting and collation. This duality will solve some of the problems we have. So that if there's a problem with the manual collation, you can have recourse to the electronic collated results to see what has happened. So I think that we need a national conversation amongst all the critical stakeholders for this to come into place.
But finally, how many litigations do you think INEC has at the moment after the elections?
We have so many of them.
Can you put a figure to it?
I can't put a figure to it now because they are still pouring in. Because the time allowed by the law and the constitution for the filing of election petitions, especially in places where we have supplementary elections, is still running. So in the next 2 weeks or so, or in the next 21 days, we should have a figure in relation to the number of election petitions that have been filed. So we are still harvesting these petitions from the different states and from the different constituencies.
All right. Well, my guest has been National Commissioner Information and Voter Education, and the person of Barrister Festus Okoye of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Well, you've heard it all. Of course, there are still other issues which we will return to the Commission to tackle. Thank you so much, Barrister, for giving us time to speak with us on this issue.
Thank you so much.
All right, that has been our package for today. Join us some other time. I am Itogi Mo, edit.